Good evening and welcome to this slightly different twist on our monthly tasting here at Mackmyra. So tonight we're going to taste the Core Range and the Björksav like we have done for the past couple of months. However, for the ladies and gentlemen at home, and it's going to be a slight difference for you because I'm actually live from a venue for the first time since God knows when. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen, from the New Union in Kendal. Good evening. Fantastic. So the only difference for ladies and gentlemen at home tonight are going to be there's going to be a few more other voices asking questions than there normally would be. So please, ladies and gentlemen at home as well, good evening, T, frequent flyer. Good evening as well, Shaz. So ladies and gentlemen at home, as you can see that other people are doing it at the moment as well, please feel free to say hello, add your comments, tasting notes, ask any questions that we have going forward. And also that applies to the ladies and gentlemen in the room as well. Please ask any questions you might have, share any tasting notes when I open the floor up, etc. Your participation really does make these shows go quite well. So please don't be camera shy. Like I said, if you're supposed to be at work, make sure you got your hood up or something. No, obviously, I'm only joking at that. Good evening, Shilton. He's moved up to Scotland. He's now back in London for something. But no. So how tonight's going to work? We're going to take, for the people at home, and for the people here, we're going to taste 5 drams in the order of left to right as you see them. Yeah, so for the people at home, that's going to be Brooks Whisky. Then we're going to go into Mack, then to Björksav, then on to Svensk Yek, and then finish off on Svensk Rook. But ladies and gentlemen, in the audience live here, one of the perks of being live with us today is you'll get to have dram number 6, kindly sponsored by your lovely landlord, Mr. Philip Walker. So thank you very much for sponsoring Dram 6 when we get there, Phil. So let's start off with, before we dive into dram number 1, let's start off with a quick potted history. But before we do that, actually, just behind me, you'll see there's some posters there for the Kendal Whisky Festival happening on the 3rd and 4th of December this year. Mackmyra are going to be the main sponsor, so come and see us to that. If you've not already got your tickets, then please see Dave and Phil at the front, and they'll tell you exactly when that's going to go on. But we'll get Philip later on to give us a wee brief on that anyway. And ladies and gentlemen at home as well, if you're in and around the Kendal area in beginning of December, or make the trip especially, it's a lovely part of the road to be in as well for the inaugural Kendal Whisky Festival. Now, that's enough of that stuff out of the way. So, Mackmyra. Mackmyra is a brand we were conceptualized in 1998. 8 friends, the 8 founders went to university together, used to meet up every year in their ski cabin in Salem. And in 1998, everybody bought a bottle of single malt whiskey with them to dinner. And then during dinner, the conversation turned around to, well, why don't we have a single malt Swedish whiskey? You know, we've got the barley, we've got great water, we've got everything you need, yeah, to make a Swedish single malt whiskey. So with that in mind, Mackmyra Swedish Whiskey, yeah, is the pioneer and innovator, yeah, who started the Swedish whiskey experience, basically. Yeah, the whiskey is created with Swedish ingredients and no additives, okay? So Swedish barley, Swedish yeast, Swedish water. Yeah, we even use Swedish oak as well, and we'll get onto that a little bit later on. And we do it as well in a very climate-friendly distillation. And we'll talk about our Gravity distillery come around dram number 2 as well. But we started off, so in 1998, the conception was hatched. And the next year, the founders set about educating themselves on brewing and distilling. You know, they were engineers, so they're not daft people. And they could pretty much turn their hand to a lot of things, but they weren't brewers or distillers by nature. So they did a big tour of Scotland. And learning from, you know, what some people would call the best in the business. They visited a good half a dozen or so distilleries around Scotland. And so with that in mind, they went back to Sweden and they hand built their own first still, 100-litre still. And that's what leads us on to craft our 30-litre casks going forward. But we'll talk about that a little bit later on. So with that, our first distillation happened on December the 18th, 1999. So that's when Mackmyra was officially born and we started to become a whiskey producer. Our first couple of runs and distillations happened in other people's, like our founders' garages, in outhouses, and all that type of stuff. Yeah, which was obviously that was pretty cool at the time. But we needed to do something a bit more. The first liquid took off quite well, so we needed to up production. So we needed to move to our first proper grown-up distillery, and that was at Mackmyra Björksav. Okay, it's not a made-up place. There's actually a place in Sweden called Mackmyra, so we're not trying to rip off a Scottish-sounding name or anything like that. Okay, Mackmyra is a proper place. So Mackmyra Björksav is an ex-power station. Okay, and it's actually there's two rivers either side of it, and that river as well is our water source. Okay, so it's all good, clean, fresh water that we use as well. And so I suppose that's really a good start, really, to take us on to dram number 1, and that would be Björk's whiskey. Okay, so Björk's whiskey should be the first glass to your left. Okay, 41.4%. Yeah, natural color, slight chill filtration. Okay, so it's more of a cool filter than a chill filter. Quite unusual at 41.4. We did do a lot of research and development around the strength and the flavor profiles and stuff like that with Björk's, and we found that 41.4 was where it sat best, basically. So it's achievable, puts it in an affordable bracket as well, so it's more widely available to people, basically. So the casks involved in this were 200-litre first fill bourbon casks, 100-litre Swedish oak casks, 100-litre sherry casks, and one single 200-litre what we call a smoketail ex-bourbon cask. And I'll talk about smoketail a little bit later on. Now, I don't get the smoketail influence in this whiskey whatsoever. And you can watch all the shows back for the past year and a half that we've done, and I always say it, I never get it. So anybody at home or anybody in our live audience tonight, if you do get that smoke, that slight subtle smokiness on this whiskey, then please do tell me, because you definitely have a better palate than I. Not that I'm confessing to have the best palate in the world, by the way, okay? So Mackmyra, so it's got a nice balanced character with fruits of for butterscotch, and the nose is clean, light, spicy. We jokingly call this our breakfast whiskey. So I'm not obviously trying to say we should start drinking whiskey for breakfast, but if you're on holiday or whatever, knock yourself out. But no, what I mean by our breakfast whiskey, it's a good way to start. Do you know what I mean? It's a good way to start. So Björk's whiskey is literally the foundation of Mackmyra as well. It was our very first proper core range bottling, and a bottle of Mackmyra, a Björk's whiskey. Yeah, a bottle of Björk's whiskey actually sits in the foundations of our brand new distillery, which I'll talk about, which I'll come on to in a little bit. So at Björk's whiskey, we upgraded from 100-litre still, obviously, because we wanted to make more whiskey. And we actually brought in our very first stills from Forsyths up in Scotland. It's the only non-Swedish part of our whiskey making process. We brought in a 10,000-litre wash still and an 8,000-litre spirit still, allowing us to really ramp up our production. And that was back in 2002 we did that. It's lovely. It's picturesque. It's where we first got our inspiration for the dude, which is, I'll try and show you our symbol on the top. The box will be available to see later on, if anybody can see that at home as well. So for the dude. It's not based on a person or anything like that, but we'll have a wee competition later on to see who knows what that actually represents. And if you've seen one of our shows before, you're not allowed to enter because that would be cheating. Okay. All right. So fantastic. So at Mackmyra Björksav, like I said, our production really ramped up, and we started to be able to push out more whiskey, start to become more world famous. Essentially, we are the first Swedish whiskey distillery. We are still the biggest, even though there's 5 or 6 Swedish distilleries now in production. We are still the biggest, and hopefully you'll all agree that we're still the most well-known out of all of them as well. So please let me know your thoughts, getting about the nose, getting about the palate, and yeah, let's have some tasting notes. We've got any good comments, Carl, coming in? Yep, brilliant. Thank you very much, Carlos. Great indeed, some great character. So, guys and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen in the audience as well, you'll see the comments come up as well. So, love the floral notes of the Brooks. Yeah, beautiful. One thing is a childhood memory. Can we get Phil in a 3-piece? Fantastic, fantastic. So obviously we've got a few people from at home tuning in as well that know Phil. So that always adds to a bit of the humour for a tasting as well, which is really quite enjoyable. What else have we got at home? Dave, breakfast whiskey, nice. Yeah, Phil in a 3-piece. Beautiful. So, ladies and gentlemen at home, how are you enjoying the Brooks? Ladies and gentlemen in the audience, how are you enjoying the Brooks? Would anybody care to forward their first comments? Anybody? Anybody at all?
Come on, guys, don't be shy.
I know it's the first time, we're all a little bit shy because it's the first time we've done this in a while. Okay, Jake, Dave, let us know your first notes, please. What's your impressions first up from Brooks?
Absolutely superb, really fresh, light, and I know it's wrong, but you could have that for breakfast.
Only while you're on holiday, though.
Oh yeah, of course.
Only while you're on holiday.
Yeah, it's really light and fragrant, and consider it's what 41.4.
Yeah. 41.4. Yeah. You feel it. So one of the I don't give tasting notes because tasting notes are a very, very personal thing. I could tell you one thing, you never tasted it in your life, and you'll go, I don't even know what that's like. So how can I taste that in a whiskey? So I generally don't give out a lot of tasting notes, but one tasting note I do enjoy with Brooks, and it always sings out, and I'm pretty confident 99% of the people at home and in the live audience would have had it before, and that's foam bananas. You know the wee sweets you used to get on the counter at the newsagents or something? Foam bananas every time with me, every single time. Has anybody at home or in the audience picked up on that smoky note yet?
Yeah.
Someone's telling a lie already, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Lovely tingle. Oh, nice one, Roger. Yeah. So Roger thinks that there's a nice tingle on the tongue. Great, easy, smooth drinking whiskey. Fantastic. And another alternative way of drinking your Brooks whiskey as well, ladies and gentlemen, is I quite enjoy a dram of this out of the freezer. Yeah. So a nice dram of this poured, put it into a sample bottle or something like that, or put the whole bottle in, whatever you want to do. But I quite enjoy a dram of Brooks out of the freezer. And what that does is it changes the viscosity, the mouthfeel, and the flavor compounds as well. So what happens, as it gets warmer in your mouth, 2 seconds, as it gets warmer in your mouth, each part of the flavor compounds that make up the esters and stuff like that through the whiskey, will start to come to life at different points. So you'll get different flavors at different points through the tasting, which I think is a really pretty cool thing. Yes, sir, the gentleman at the back. Out of the freezer, sir, yeah. So I'm not a big fan of ice in my whiskey because of uncontrolled dilution. Now, I do like a whiskey chilled. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you put ice in it, you can then control your dilution. So if you get through halfway through the amount of ice you've put into your glass, and you found your sweet spot with how it's tasting and the temperature and the right water content, it's only going to get worse from there because you've still got more ice down to melt. Whereas I don't mind, so like straws, pipettes, anything like that, a bottle lid, if you're going to add some water to your whiskey, add it in little bits. You can always put some more in. But unless you're really, really good at science, and after a couple of jams, not very many people are, in all fairness, it's very, very difficult to pull the water back out again. So that's generally why I don't advise ice. Now, if you want to put ice in your dram, your glass, you do what you like with it. But if you want a nice chilled dram, put a sample of it in the freezer. Yes, sir. You can indeed. You can indeed. I have my own thoughts on whiskey stones, and once we're not on air, I shall share them with you. So, but no, and if that's something you do enjoy doing, then yeah, like I said, it's your dram, it's your drink. You drink it how you like. I'm not going to get fussy and upset with people even if you want to put some like lemon Fanta in it or something like that. Do you know what I mean? That's completely up to you and how you want to drink your whiskey. But I do recommend though taking a sip of your whiskey first before you add anything to it to know what you're then gonna change your whiskey with. So you know you might take that and go on a particular day. They go, do you know what? I don't need anything with that. That's great as it is. Other days you go, oh, it's a little bit harsh for me today. I'll add a wee touch of water. Without knowing what it tastes like first up, yeah, you don't know then what you're going to do to that whiskey. Okay? Yes, sir.
Real novice question.
Yeah.
Like you say, in the freezer, but if you haven't got, you can't fanny around with sample bottles. You put the bottle in the freezer and then take it out.
Yeah.
Put it back in and take it out. Is that going to damage whiskey long term?
No. No. I've not done extensive research and development into that. But on my basic science knowledge of that, I'm going to go with a hard, fast no. But once you've taken it out of the freezer once, a bottle of Brooks, good chance it's probably not going to go back in. If you've got a few pals on with you as well, that will help the way you feel the next day. But so that's potential. Might go back in once more, but yeah, apart from that, yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen at home, do we have any questions? Also, we got another comment. Mouth is sweet. The bourbon oak influence is clear in the mouth, but fades away too quickly. Oh, okay.
What's that person called?
That's a very good question. And I don't like insulting people. So now that we do a lot more of the online stuff, we're actually opened up our online tastings now into Europe. So we get some people with some absolutely fantastic looking names. And I'm not going to attempt to insult those people. I'm just glad that they're here.
Where are you?
Yeah, exactly. You know, and I don't want to be that person that tries to absolutely make a mangle of somebody else's name, really, Dave. Do you know what I mean? So, but no, great guys, some really great comments. Definitely try it from the freezer. It will lose a lot of its floral character initially. Yeah. So initially, when you do put ice into your drink or bring it out of the freezer, yeah, what happens is like science, bro. Right, but all your flavor compounds will contract. Yep. So the first sip you're going to get is going to be more viscous and line your mouth. Now, as the dram then warms up in your mouth, if you hold it in there for a couple of seconds, or as it gets warmer in your glass naturally to room temperature, taste it at different points. Yeah, you'll get different flavor profiles become more prevalent at certain temperatures because, well, science brew, quite frankly. Do you know what I mean? We could have a whole different night about science and whiskey and stuff, and that's not for tonight. So you'd be glad to know that. You'd be glad to know that. So, have we got any more comments or questions around Brooks whiskey? Yes, sir.
Your comment about having it for breakfast.
Yes.
Of course, once you're retired, it brings new opportunities.
There you go, sir. As long as you've got, you know, all about exploring your life and going forward after you've had a healthy dram of Brooks for your breakfast while retired. Yeah, exactly. As long as you're not planning then setting out to drive somewhere after that, like to the garden centre or anything like that, then you should be okay. You should be okay. Fantastic. So now we have one glass empty for the people that are with us in the room. Feel free to pour dram number 3 into that glass you just emptied, if you just emptied it. Ladies and gentlemen at home, your comments that are coming in are fantastic. Thank you very much for interacting with us. The only way to drink a dram is neat. Annette, no, that's not the only way to drink a dram. That is one of the better ways to drink a dram for sure. But please don't go down that road if that's the only way to drink a dram. Okay, there's so many wonderful things you can do. And the next dram up, actually, Mac, is a really, really good example of that. Sorry, excuse me. So most talking I've done in a long time. Not a lot of people would, Dave, in all fairness. Not a lot of people would. No. So next up, we've got Mac. This is 40%. This is color corrected. This is chill filtered. But it has been designed exactly that way. On the back of the Mac bottle, it tells you it has E150A coloring in it. It does tell you it's been chill filtered. We're not trying to lie to anybody. We're telling you the truth. It's been designed that way because it's a great dram at 40%. Yeah, it comes under like mostly around about the 30, 35 pound mark. So it's very, very approachable, decently affordable, yeah. And it was designed to stand out on a back bar. You look at that beautiful big blue bottle label on the front of it. And that stands out a mile. You're looking at a whiskey bar, it's quite busy. You go, oh, do you know what? I fancy a little cocktail. Do you know what? I'll have an old-fashioned and use Mac because it's there. It stares at you. And that's exactly what it's designed to do. Yeah. Fantastic in cocktails. Great neat. I love this in a highball. Now, a lot of stores will actually sell like a sparkling apple and pear juice or an apple or sparkling pear juice. Yeah. I find a nice home pour, shall we say, of Mac in a highball glass over ice. Yeah. Topped up with apple or pear or apple and pear sparkling juice. Yeah. And then garnished with Granny Smith apple or great timing. Great timing. Love live events. Do you know what I mean? Love it. And for once, it's not for me, so that's all great. Or a nice slice of pear as well as you garnish. And for a nice warm summer day, or just a really nice refreshing drink to make a difference from going to the bar and having a pint or something like that. You know, it really breaks it. It's nice. It's refreshing. So no, again, you know, drinking it neat. Yeah, it's great. This is fantastic neat, as you're all finding out right now. But also, it really does go great in cocktails, and so do most other Mackmyras, in all fairness. So why is this second on the list and not first? So I generally do our tastings in the story of Mackmyra. Yeah. So that, obviously, we made that first at Mackmyra Brook. Yeah. And then in 2011, we started production at our brand new £5 million Gravity Distillery. That's right, a Gravity Distillery. Yeah. 35, as you can see, 35 meters tall. Yeah. And we use the power of gravity to move it from one stage to the next. So we did everything we did when we at Mackmyra Brook, going from left to right. Yeah. But we now do it from top to bottom. Yeah. So at the top is the sky bar, because you need a sky bar at a 35 meter tall distillery, don't you, really? Because you need to look out over the beautiful forest in Sweden where you're based. Yeah. And then from there, yeah. So you got the sky bar. You come down then, yeah. That's the malt silo. We come down, yeah, into milling. So that's where we separate all the barley, crush it up into your sugars, your yeast, etc. Yeah. Then we go down into the mash tun. Then we go into the washbacks of fermentation. Then we're down into distillation, and then down into the filling store, and then the filling store off to one of our 9. That's right, 9 warehouses we have. 7 in Sweden, 1 in Germany at Bathurst, and now a brand new one on the River Seine in Paris, which we're working with Maison Ferrand for. But you can find a lot more information about that on mackmyra.com, and it's going to be great. There's going to be some really good stuff going to come out of there. So yeah, so the world's first and only at the moment Gravity Distillery. As you saw before on that previous graphic, that we were 45% more efficient in the Gravity Distillery on initial trials than we were at the Mackmyra Brook. So, you know, 45% more efficient it's no mean feat. That's, you know, we're really standing behind the 3 pillars that make up Mackmyra, okay? So we're going for, innovation, sustainability, and Swedishness, okay? Yeah. And Swedishness, that's an actual proper word now, okay? Because I said it and everything, but no, that's what we're doing for. So like I said, all the ingredients that go into a whiskey are Swedish, yeah? The water, the yeast, and the barley. And even the peating process, we'll talk about later on, is also very unique to us in Sweden as well, or at Mackmyra, should I say. So impressions of Mac. What are we all thinking? Guys, so when I start talking about a whiskey and we've picked it up, or I picked it up, feel free to start nosing and tasting, etc. Don't wait for an open invitation from myself to start, because sometimes I forget and you could be here all night and nobody really wants that. So ladies and gentlemen at home, what are we thinking about Mac? What's your favorite whiskey cocktail, please, ladies and gentlemen at home? Roger, Mac is one of the best value whiskey bottles in the market. Yeah, absolutely fantastic, Roger. Yeah, couldn't agree more. Obviously, I couldn't disagree with that, really, could I? Would pair Brooks with a creme brulee. Nice, yeah, I like that. I like that. So also, you know, green apples and pears on the nose from Mac. I think solvent smell is also there again. So that nose on the nose smell, that lightness, and that solventy smell, that's what I attuned to the foam bananas back on Brooks. But so the cask makeup for Mac, guys, is not complicated. In fact, the cask makeup for Mac is probably our simplest yet. 100% American oak. That's it. Yes, sir.
Just brought into reflection for those of us a bit more mature in years. Spangles, pear drops. You see that's possible?
Nice. Looking from my point of view, sir, I've got a bit of a higher elevation than yourself. You probably ruled out about 15% of the audience. So Mac, yeah. It's honestly, and it's the very first one solely produced at the Gravity Distillery as well. I love Mac. I really do enjoy it in the highball that I mentioned earlier. It's just really refreshing, and it is great on its own. Unusually for a chill filtered whiskey as well, you get a really nice mouthfeel on this one.
Just like me and Phil, a good all-rounder.
A good all-rounder, exactly, Dave. Exactly. Fantastic. Yeah, Dave, old-fashioned all the way. Yeah, just as the Cumbrian Blondie. Fantastic. Net Walker. Christmas pudding on Mac. No, that's unusual. That's unusual, that. So, ladies and gentlemen, the comments that are coming in from home are great. Oh, that was your mum. Good evening, Mrs. Walker. Skål. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for letting young Philip out to play this evening. It's much appreciated. So just for ladies and gentlemen at home, Annette Walker, that's commenting there, happens to be the landlord of the New Union, Kendal's mum. So it's thanks to her that we've been allowed to come today and that Phil's allowed out to play. So that's always quite nice. Fantastic. So guys, what are we thinking of the Mac? The gentleman and lady in the corner at the back to my left. Up, thumbs up from the back, thumbs down from the Mac. Thumbs up. Thumbs up. Oh, we've got, I don't know if it's going to the bin or not. Okay. Fantastic. Fantastic. Great. So, I didn't mention it at the beginning, but I'll mention it now because it'll take us nicely on to dram number 3. Okay. So we do three ranges of whiskey, 2 of which we're tasting this evening. So we do our core range, which you're going to taste all 4 of this evening. So Mac, Brooks, Svensk, Svensk, and we've also got our seasonal range, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a moment because we're going to really get into it with dram number 3. And then we've got our moments range, which is our super luxury range, which I'm sure we'll get a proper New Union in whiskey tasting evening with just us, and we'll put some other stuff on and things like that as well. But no, so back to the seasonal range. So since 2013, we've released 2 seasonals a year. Okay, we do a spring, summer, and an autumn, winter. Now they're very much reflective of that time of year in Sweden. So the natural resources that are available that time of year. So spring, summer, which so Björksav, which is dram number 3. So anybody needs new teeth after trying to pronounce that one, I know where you're coming from. But Björksav means birch sap. Okay, so we've actually used birch sap wine to finish this whiskey in, and to take whiskey from it. So we've taken 200 litre whiskey matured in 200 litre ex bourbon casks and Oloroso seasoned American oak casks between 128 and 200 litres. We've taken whiskey that's been maturing in there, and then we finished it in casks, Swedish oak and American oak casks at 100 and 200 litre size, yeah, that have previously contained birch sap wine. Okay, hands up, and please, ladies and gentlemen at home, please let us know if you've ever tried the birch sap wine before. Obviously, people tuning in from Sweden or maybe Germany would have tried it before, but it's not something personally, I'll hold my hand up, it's not something that I've previously had before as well. Any members in the room here previously tasted birch sap wine before? One. No, not a fan of it, no? Okay, so don't hold that against the whiskey. It is a bit more of a different experience. So we're now jumping up in ABV, ladies and gentlemen, as well, okay? We're jumping up now to what we call the Mackmyra magic number. And we're now drinking whiskey, and all the rest of the whiskeys this evening now are going to be at this percentage, and that's 46.1%. Okay, that's quite important. This is natural color, non-chill filtered. Okay, that's very important to note as well. When you're shopping for whiskies, etc., and you're not too sure if something's chill filtered or color corrected, look for anything 46% and above. Yeah, below 46%, science brew. A process called flocculation occurs. So if the whiskey's at a below room temperature, really it's been chilled, or you add water to it, you will get a cloudiness to it. Now, if that's sat on the bar and it's just come off the delivery van, yeah, people look at that and go, that whiskey's broken. It's not. It has no impact on the flavor whatsoever. So companies, including ourselves with Mac, chill filter and color correct for consistency. Okay. It doesn't change the flavor profile of the whiskey. Okay. But 46% and above, flocculation doesn't occur because, well, science brew, quite frankly. But yeah, I first tried this. I first tried Brooks whiskey out of the fridge. It was fresh off the delivery truck. We were having our education session with Sweden, and my bottle hadn't turned up before the session started. So I got mine off the delivery truck. And I must say, chilled, this is fantastic. It's great at room temperature. My boss, Shane, hope you watch tuning in, Shane. He quite likes it with a drop of water in, because it is a decent ABV on this as well, ladies and gentlemen. It is a big step up from what we previously had. Yeah. But he quite likes it with a drop of water. I quite like it out of the fridge. So, you know, I said Brooks, I quite like that out of the freezer. Yeah. With Björksav, I very much enjoy it out of the fridge. It gives it a nice, crisp start to the flavor profile, and it's really quite enjoyable. So the good news on the seasonal is that it's soon to be the release date for our autumn winter. So please stay tuned to our social medias in the next coming couple of weeks to find out what we've got in store for you for autumn winter this year. I've seen it on paper and it looks fantastic. So ladies and gentlemen at home, what have we got for Björksav? Never tried birch sap wine, but like birch sap, brilliant tomorrow. Fantastic, great comments as always. What else have we got? Who else have we got? We've got Chrisiakos, a bucket of Christmas spices and orange oils on the nose. Interesting. And we got Shaz, would love to join in person. Well, Shaz, tune into our social medias going forward and see where we're going to appear next in person. Any suggestions from ladies and gentlemen at home? Any suggestions of where we should appear next for our monthly core tasting? Please let us know. You can email us, drop us messages on our social media, anything like that. Just let us know where you'd like to see us next. So, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, your first taste of a Mackmyra seasonal. Thumbs up or thumbs down? This thumbs up or round. I like it. Please feel free to join in the thumbs up or thumbs down, ladies and gentlemen. Great. Thumbs up or again. Yeah. Fantastic.
Oh, you heathen. It's your risk.
Too sweet. Too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I was going to suggest for me, this is more of a dessert. I would compare this to a dessert.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good. Oh, I put ginger cake with mine, Rod.
I think there's a creaminess or a sweetiness, more of a
Yeah, for sure, for definite, yeah. So, you know, whiskey's not all about cigar lounges, in leather armchairs, in fireplaces, in tweed jackets, he says, with his tweed jacket on. But no, it's about any time, really, within reason, obviously, promote responsible drinking. Obviously, apart from the retired folk amongst us, they can do whatever they like, whenever they like, really, perks of being retired. But no, so let's, you know, come away from those old stereotypes of whiskey drinking. Yeah, at Mackmyra, and definitely myself, I believe there's a whiskey for every occasion. Now, whether that's pre-dinner, breakfast for some of our more well-travelled personnel, or as a dessert jam, like the gentleman at the back just said there. You know, there is a whiskey for all occasions, and pairing it with foods, whether that be actual meals or chocolate or toffees or ice creams and all that type of stuff. You know, it's whiskey is a great toy to play with. Okay, it's a toy for adults only, obviously. Okay, you're not going to find it at Toys R Us or other toy shops and things like that. But no, whiskey is a great adult's toy. You can play with it. It's very, very versatile. Experiment, yeah. If you buy a whole bottle, you can play about with it. Yeah, maybe not all in one evening, but you know, you can have a play about with it. Try a dram out the freezer. Try it out the fridge. Pour a small dram over some ice cream. Yeah, experiment. Play with different types of chocolate. Play with different types of sweets and savouries. I love a charcuterie board. Yeah, of meats and blue cheeses. I love that. You know, that's probably why. You know, I look a little bit slimmer on camera. Yeah, no, I look a bit slimmer on camera. That's fine. That's fine.
Carl said he was extra large
No.
before.
Fantastic. So, ladies and gentlemen at home, tonight we've got an offer for you, and I'm sure Phil's got an offer for you, ladies and gentlemen, in the room this evening as well. But, ladies and gentlemen at home, we have used the code Björksav 40, no umlauts or anything like that, but Björksav 40, yeah, to receive. If you buy a bottle of Björksav, you will get 40% off a bottle of the core range. Okay, so that's it only at Mackmyra.com. So Björksav 40. Buy a bottle of Björksav, get 40% off a bottle of our core range. Okay, so that. Okay, so yeah, so Björksav, we're all big thumbs up for it, yeah? Fantastic, happy with that. Right, moving swiftly then on to what's probably our flagship malt. So we're moving on to dram number 4. Yeah, dram number 4, and that is Svensk Yak. Before we move on to Svensk Yak, we've got a few comments from our online audience, shall I say? So Roger, lovely burn and stays with you. So this is about Björksav, fab spice and freshens the mouth. Yeah, I get quite on Björksav. I get quite like a mentally type sort of like feeling flavour on the palate. The mouth is warm spice with medium duration, develops and fades slowly. Yeah, so brilliant. Because you know, before he didn't like the way that Brooks whiskey finished quite short. This one says it's got a longer finish. Would pair with a chocolate brownie. Yeah, fair enough, Shaz. Yeah, in fact, in all fairness, Shaz, a lot of things would pair with a chocolate brownie. And yeah, and Connor loves a charcuterie. Fantastico. So. Oh, Mickey, what's my favourite release so far? That's actually quite a difficult question. Last year, part of our spring seasonal, we released Grand Tea, where we used casks that previously held a green tea concoction, and that was just a game changer for me, quite frankly. You know, I always known Mackmyra. I was a fan of Mackmyra before I started working for Mackmyra. I was always a big fan of the whiskey and their inventiveness, especially in their seasonal range. But last year's Grand Tea, that just blew me out the water. I think that's probably the best one for the seasonal range so far anyway. So thank you for the question, Connor. Appreciate that. Yes, sir. No, so we buy in malted barley. So we buy in our malted barley. Our barley variety is called tipple, which I love saying that. So along with flocculation, tipple is my second favourite word. So we buy it in from Viking Maltings in Sweden. So moving on to dram number 4, Svensk Yak. Svensk Yak means Swedish oak, surprisingly enough. And it's literally there right on the tin. So majority of its maturation takes place in 200-litre ex-bourbon casks. Then we take 10% of that liquid, yeah, and we then further mature it for a minimum of 18 months in virgin Swedish oak. Now, what Swedish oak brings to the mix, and you'll find out when you taste it on the palate. So please feel free to start nosing and start tasting away as well, please, ladies and gentlemen. It's not persistent, Philip. It's not persistent. So with Svensk, yeah, you're gonna notice, right? Now, one of the biggest things I like explaining about Mackmyra is we can all tell it looks like a whiskey. It smells like a whiskey. And yeah, that tastes like a whiskey. Okay. But with Mackmyra, right? If you are, a long in the tooth or long in the wool or even new to the game, like a Scotch drinker, really, yeah, you're going to get sort of a lot of familiarities between jams. This is where Mackmyra stands out. We've already spoken about a different sort of cask finish there in the seasonal range, but in our core range, we've got Svensk. It's a Swedish oak, yeah. Swedish oak contains a lot less wood sugars in it, yeah, than American white oak. So you're not going to get as many of those vanillins, those sweet flavors coming through. What Swedish oak brings to the party is a bit of white pepper, sandalwood, some nuttier notes, okay? And that's only 10% for 18 months. It's going to change that whole liquid for you. So yeah, there's a really nice story surrounding Swedish oak, believe it or not. So back in 1830, just after the Napoleonic Wars, yeah, the Swedish Royal Navy and the Swedish Royal Family wanted to really look to the future on their future warships. So what they did was they sent out 8 emissaries from Stockholm to go and search for the perfect place to grow oak trees because they wanted a plan for the future. Now in Sweden, yeah, oak trees do take a fairly long time to grow. Now, oak's always been available in Sweden, well, more the southern part of Sweden because it's a bit more favorable growing conditions. But two of the emissaries happened upon an old lady's croft in Visingsö, yeah, which is a small little island in Lake Vättern. Lake Vättern is Sweden's second largest lake. So upon there, they spied 3 magnificent oak trees. These things were absolute beauts, but they look very, very different to what we know now as so like a UK oak tree. So they saw these fantastic oak trees. They took one of them down and took it back to Stockholm to see the royal family and the Royal Navy. And they went, yes, that's exactly what we need. Where is this place? Let's get stuck in. So from there, they planted 300,000 trees over a 10-year period. Yeah, just really looking to the future. But not only that, they did it in such an innovative way as well. To make these trees go very, very straight and very, very tall, they planted other species of trees in between the oak trees, yeah, to really make those trees grow quite tall and straight. Now, unfortunately, 150 years later, the custodians of the trees phoned up the Royal Navy and went, well, that's your trees ready, people, for your warships. Where do you want them? Obviously, the Swedish Royal Navy went, good one. We don't do that anymore. So unfortunately, 30 years after they started planting the trees, just a small little thing in history happened. Anybody ever heard of it? The Industrial Revolution? Do you know what I mean? So unfortunately, most warships going forward then were, started off as being ironclad, and then they were solely made from metals, etc. So the need for all these trees for warships become null and void. So that opens it up then, really. So what else is really, really straight, really, really tall wood good for? Well, oak at that. Flooring, furniture, and lucky enough for us, yeah, whiskey staves to make whiskey casks from. Okay, now there is a big, big difference that Carl just flashed up. Carl, do you want to do that one again? Between European oak and American oak, okay? You'll see there is difference in the grains, okay? European oak, yeah, it's a bit tighter, yeah. With the American oak, it's a completely different color as well.
Yeah, that's why I've always.
Well, Dave, that's because you're a clever man, Dave. That's because you're a clever man. Not a lot of people know that, but Dave for the Kendal Whiskey Festival is a clever man, apparently. But no, so so ladies and gentlemen at home, please let me know what you think, because this is very, very different to anything we've had out so far this evening. And while those comments come in, have we got any comments yet? Nutty and wood, light cedar notes, also sweet and sour lemon on the nose. Very nice indeed, Kay, very nice indeed. Mouth feels oily, has a light, pleasant peat smoke. No, so that's quite interesting. Yeah. So he's brought up, Kay's brought up there, yeah, that he thinks there's a pleasant peat smoke to this. This is 100% unpeated barley. Yeah. So what potential is happening there, yeah, is our Swedish oak casks are very, very heavily charred. Okay. So there's the heavy charring in the cask does quite a lot of the time impart a smokiness, not a peatiness, but a smokiness, as you can see from there. Yeah. So not only is it heavily charred, yeah, but there's also grooves cut out as well, yeah, to maximize that wood to spirit ratio. Okay. That really, really matters when you're maturing for short periods of time as well. Okay. So yeah, so what's potentially happening there is he's picking up a bit of smokiness, yeah, through the interaction with the Swedish oak wood. Get some nice peppery notes on the finish. Yes, Neil, perfect. So Neil Hart just there said he's getting peppery notes on the finish, and that's what I get all the time. I always get a bit of white pepper on the background. In cocktails, this is a fantastic replacement for rye whiskey. Yeah. So any rye, you always got rye-based cocktails going on in your hip and popular bars. Svensk Gek is a really great alternative. And if you stick around later in the New Union, there's a potential I'm going to make a couple of my twist or a Swedish twist on a Black Manhattan called a Sviet Stockholm. So I'm going to make a few of them later on if people are sticking about. If not, then that's more for me. So that's fine. Please feel free not to stick around. But no, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your comments at home. Please keep them coming in. Don't forget to share your stories and all that sort of stuff with your pals so they can tune in for the next one as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, in our live audience, Svensk Gek. Have we got our thumbs up, our thumbs down? Thumbs up, brilliant. Happy with that, okay. So, like I said at the beginning, you know, it looks like a whiskey, it smells like a whiskey, it tastes like a whiskey. But you can tell there's something slightly different going on. Yeah, and on this occasion, yeah, for this Mackmyra, it's the influence of the Swedish oak. Okay. Huge sweetness on the nose, yeah. You'll get that from the bourbon cask maturation. Quite smooth with a slight warming at the back of the tongue. Nice one, Charles. Fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. Line up the hero, yeah. So moving on to dram number 5. And this, ladies and gentlemen at home, will be your last dram with us this evening before we wrap up. But ladies and gentlemen in our audience, this is... Everyone at home now is going, man, I wish I was in Kendal.
Kendal Whiskey Festival, 3rd and 4th of December, get yourselves here.
So did anybody see the bouncer to kick Dave out? Fantastic, guys. No, so yeah, so moving on to dram number 5. And this is Svensk Rök. Yep. Any guesses for what Svensk Rök means? None, no guesses whatsoever. All right. Thank you very much, Phil. You know, you should know this by now. So yeah, Svensk Rök means Swedish smoke. Okay, so we have quite a unique way of smoking our barley. Okay, so we're actually one of only, I think it's 12 distilleries in the world that still floor malt and smoke our own barley on site. So we buy in our unpeated malted barley, yeah, but we actually then take unmalted barley from the same people, yeah, and we floor malt and smoke it ourselves. So we only do 3 runs of this a year, and it's quite small in batch numbers. So what we do, so we actually use, yeah, local peat, yeah, so Swedish peat from the Karen Mossen. If anybody works in hospitality or customer facing, I like to call that the bog of Karens. Yes, I'm glad somebody laughed at that. Not too many people do. That's great. Not to be offensive to anybody called Karen, but I'm sure we all know the phenomenon of the Karen. Not actual people called Karen, obviously. Unless Karen happens to be a Karen, then yeah. Anyway, I digress. Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, I digress. But no, so we actually get our peat from the Karen Mossen. And keep moving our sustainability, etc. as well. We only take the white layer of peat, which is the first top couple of inches, okay? And then that obviously then carries on. And we don't use a lot of it either. So then we have a wood. So in our kiln we have our wood fire. Yeah, on top of our wood fire sits a grate. On top of the grate we put a layer of peat. Yeah, and then on top of the peat we actually put a layer of something quite unique to us, as far as I know. Can anybody guess what that not I wouldn't say magic ingredient, but unique Scandi ingredient is? Ladies and gentlemen at home, if you want to fire in what your guesses would be if you're quick. But
ABBA Records.
no ABBA jokes, guys. I mean, come on. Smoked Karen? No. Karen hasn't come off her fag break to dive in. No. No. So we actually use. Sorry, go on, sir. Close, but not. One more. No, that would be a very Scottish thing to do, though. So we leave that to our friends at Highland Park. Seaweed? No. We do get a bit of salinity though coming through from our peat though. But actually, we use a layer of juniper twigs on top. We actually use a layer of juniper twigs on top of our peat to give it quite that very unique Scandi feel. So what the juniper does, it gives us a really earthy and resinous smoke. Yeah, that peat fire, that whole peat fire, including juniper, is refreshed every 4 hours over a 3-day period. And we only do a peating run 3 times a year, which I think is fantastic. So with the magic ingredient in mind, does anybody actually pick up the juniper in the whiskey? So, ladies and gentlemen at home, what are your feelings on Spence Canuck? Now, I know we generally have some people on our tastings that are not big fans of peated whiskey, but this Spence Canuck has actually been a turning point, yeah, in quite a few people's whiskey journeys when it comes to trying peated whiskey. Okay, because it's not that big punch in the face of iodine and some other big flavors that are associated with a small island off the west coast of Scotland. Yeah, but it's generally not. It's a lot more subtler. It's a lot more of a better introduction to peated whiskey. Okay, and that's what I find. And a lot of people that go, "Oh no, Micky, no, I don't like peated whiskey," actually then go on to enjoy this and then improve their palate by then getting into a bit more Swedish whiskey. Light aromatic smoke on the nose, agreed. Strong peated smoke, sweet mouth. Yeah, beautiful. Kay, you've been nailing the tasting notes tonight, sir. Thank you very much for participating. Drinking a bottle of Spence Canuck at home in a moment. Roger, nice one. It's an amazing drink, a mouthful of smoky flavour, and it's hard to put the cork back. Yeah, I completely agree. Completely agree, guys. So before we start to wrap up for our ladies and gentlemen at home, remember we do have an offer on Mackmyra.com this evening. Okay, and that's Björksav 40. Buy a bottle of Björksav and get 40% off a bottle of any one of our 4 core ranges. So if tonight you fancied the Björksav and another whiskey, treat yourself. 40% off. You can't beat that, really, I don't think. So, but before I wrap up and say goodbye to the ladies and gentlemen at home, Phil, I'd like to welcome up Phil to come and join me. So Phil, so I've already mentioned it at the beginning of the show, the 3rd and 4th of December at the Kendal Town Hall. Yes. Yourself and Dave are the co-founders of the Kendal Whisky Festival. What brought that about?
What brought it about was, as you can see tonight, we've got 36 people here tonight, all enjoying great whiskey from around the world. Swedish whiskey, if you'd have thought it 2 years ago, that we'd have had 36 people here not drinking non-Scotch whiskey. This is what it's about. It's about people trying brand new stuff, brand new drinks, and that's what it's about the Whisky Festival. Myself and Dave got talking back in November last year about trying to set something a little bit different, especially with having so many great people here for the Whisky nights we've had with some great people. and we decided that it's about time that Kendal had its own whisky festival. We've got nothing between us and Southport, Manchester, Liverpool, Leeds, Glasgow, Edinburgh. And as you can see, we've got 30 people tonight sat outside, great in our marquee here in what was our car park until COVID. It really was.
Come on, guys!
Micky set me one challenge tonight, and that was to make sure that Dave wasn't arsehole by 7 o'clock. I think we did it well. It was 7:02, so I did my job. But we really want to thank the guys from Mackmyra for sponsoring our first whisky festival.
You love the Swedish, yeah? Oh, yeah, we love them.
It's been brilliant, to get where we are. We're nearly full of trade stands now. We've got some of the best whiskey companies in the world coming to Kendal. We've got guys from Mackmyra, you're back down. I think we're going to do a live show for the festival as well, which is going to be incredible to do. We've got Ian McLeod Distillers coming. We've got Paul John Shilton. Thank you very much for commenting earlier on. We've got some great whiskey companies coming here. THU. Who else we've got? We've got Nico. We've got Kendal, the guys from Specialty Drinks are all coming down and stuff like that. So for year one as well, Billy and Dave coming down all the way from Bunnahabhain, so get those guys from Bunnahabhain here, the guys from Deanston and stuff like that. We're absolutely over the moon. Next time we're sat here as well in a few weeks, we're going to have an absolute whiskey legend here. I think you know of the legend that is Billy Walker from Glenallachie. He's coming down. Those tickets will be going available to you guys who were here first. So Billy Walker's coming down from Glenallachie. So you guys will get first dibs on that as well. So thanks very much. But Kendal Whisky Festival is something different. We're trying to really bring things in and make sure that Kendal, the festival town, has so many great events. It's not just about the festival. It's about making sure people are stopping in the town for the night, spending money in local hotels, spending money in local businesses. This is us helping Kendal come back after COVID-19, and you are part of that tonight. We've all had a really hard year. The quickest way to help us, a little festival that so we can then go annual event. The support that we've had throughout the industry, especially on Micky and the team, has been absolutely incredible. So we just want to say thank you very, very much to everybody who's helped us get underway.
So, ladies and gentlemen at home, thank you very much for tuning in. You've been fantastic. If you've not done it before, please like and share everything you see from Mackmyra. Please stay tuned to our social media channels, and you'll see our future up-and-coming events, including the fantastic Kendal Whisky Festival in December. So, ladies and gentlemen at home, thank you very much. Good night and skål.